And we are live. Sorry for the late start. Actually, let's get this one here. All righty. Let me go over to the comments section. And Gwen says hello. And Maley says, what's up? Well, tonight we're painting, or this afternoon, actually. We're doing it as a non-members only stream so that more people can kind of see what I'm doing. Let me get this in a little better focus. So you folks can see what it is I'm doing. All right, white background may not be the best for that. Let's see. Hopefully that's in focus enough. All right. Give me a second here to kind of gather my wits. Gonna put my glasses on, other glasses on. These are the ones I normally use. They're progressive readers. These are just plain old readers. And let's see. Can't think of a better name. Says, oh, wow, that's tiny. And Maley says, looks really cool. These are like standard troop size miniatures for Warhammer 40K. Let's see. My paint water is actually a little seltzered because it was the easiest way to bring up some extra water. The cup was getting a little low. Tonight's soda stream is flavored with Mio Hydrate Berry Blast. And I don't have enough in there. It's tasting a little weak. So the print that I've got going on in the side window, I can't seem to balance between the twos, which was part of what was keeping me late, as well as having a hard time getting started up, is one of the storage drawers that I'm doing as a Christmas gift for my sister. Actually, it was much further along than this, but unfortunately, when I was looking for a local place that had e-waste drop-off, I was trying to scroll up to the top of my browser screen on my phone to open a new tab, and I accidentally hit the e-stop button. And unfortunately, on this printer, when you do that, there's no way to restart the print where it was. So I had to start the print all over again. I was about 4 hours into it. That was really frustrating. All right. Let's see what our colors are again. All right, so let's go ahead and do the base, which is supposed to be Armageddon Dust, and then I'll do the claws, which are Thunderhawk Blue. All right, so which one is Armageddon Dust? All right, that's what that is. Looks fairly well separated. Let's go ahead and shake it up. Gwen says, oh, that's a bummer. Yep, I was using some rather forceful language, but I knew there was nothing I could do about it. Just was really annoyed. And let's see. This one doesn't seem to want to mix up well. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of strength at the moment. I mean, I'm still doing better, but it takes a lot of energy to shake up the jars. It's looking a little more mixed. Yeah, it definitely looks more mixed. All right. Let's see if I can open this one relatively easily because it hasn't been opened yet. And it's joined with bits of plastic. Yeah, that still needs definitely some more. It's got a huge solid chunk in it. But I've been making decent progress, at least in my estimation, in our basement to get the area more cleaned up so that roommate can use it, and it's easier for me to get to and from for printing, And to get the miniatures up here, the thumbnail is the current miniature display and model paint or mini paint holders and paintbrush holders. I'm not using it as that yet. I need to clean off my dresser top, move some of the Lego models out of the way and set up on it. Looks like I can get like 6 units wide, and then after that I can start using it as a backdrop. All right, let's try this again, see how bad it is. It's still pretty solid and kind of chunky. Wonder if I should add a little bit of moisture to it. Don't want to thin it out too much. But yeah, as you can see, it's kind of chunky. Let's see, I think I did that. Oh, that's a bummer. And Mary says, I played with my sister's kids in the snow this afternoon, but I don't have any boots, so my feet were freezing. That's rough. I know what that's like. Gwen says, sounds like fun except for the no boots part. And can't think of a better name. Says, how long are you planning on streaming? You might take y'all along to keep me company distracted for an errand I've been putting off. I'm probably going to do at least an hour. I'm not sure how much longer than that I'm going to do. It's about an hour from now is about the time Mrs. Torin starts cooking dinner. And I want to get more done in the basement. It's just I had to take a break, and I knew I'd planned the stream. So, all right, let's see. I think I might need to add liquid. Let's see if I can. That was probably too much. Yeah, it's exceeded the capacity of the, whoops. And I'm flinging paint around now. Let's get this cleaned up. And I can't think of a better name. Thumbs up, smiling. Okay. And Serby just decided to jump on the bed since I'm being obnoxious and not paying attention to him. All right, let's see how we're looking now. I think we're definitely too thin. But hopefully it'll be thick enough for painting. Let's see how we get. All right. All right, that's a thin brush. I want something thicker for the base. Yeah, this is probably a good one. Let me get it out of the sleeve. Chisel tip. All right, let's see. I think that's reasonably in focus. All right, let's just moisten the tip up a little bit. There we go. Let's see how well this goes. It's definitely a wash now. I think what I'll do is I'll leave the bottle open overnight. That'll help evaporate some of the moisture. And I'm going to adjust a light here real quick. Give me a second. There we go. See if I can't get some of the lumps of pigment on. Yeah, this is really thin. Make a good wash at this point. kind of, let's see, since it was fairly clumped, let's see if I can't draw off some of the moisture. All right, let's try mixing it up again at the lower concentration. I don't know if it's leaking around the lid or if it's just moisture from earlier on. Now, there may be a little defect in this bottle, which is why it was so chunky, because it had evaporated off. All right, let's see what concentration we're at now. Looks a little better. Looks like I probably should have made sure the base got a little more primer. Maybe it's worth it to sand off some of the base. All right, so that's actually on the rock. I think with waiting for insurance and everything kind of feels a little overwhelming. And I'm just trying to fight past that, but it's kind of like a lump in the pit of my stomach. But hopefully it won't take too long for the insurance to approve my infusion therapy, and then I can start the road back to full recovery, hopefully. Well, it does look like it is finally starting to go on a little better. I think what I'll do is I'll do kind of like a first coat on these bases and cycle through. That'll give them a chance to dry out a bit. And then I can go from there. I want to order some more paints, but I got to kind of decide what color theme I'm going to do. They don't have a lot of easy sets. It's mostly a choose your own set type thing from what I've seen on Amazon. So I'm not sure how well that's going to work. All right. Try and just get the rock and not the claws for the design. All right. Just touch up a bit more, wick off some moisture. All right. Let's take this one off. There we go. And put another one on here. It's basically just office putty. Got to be careful not to press too hard though, or it wants to. There we go. Probably should hold it a little more like that. Get a more stable grip. All right, let's see if we can't do a better job on this base without essentially like watering the base first. Just got to double check as I'm doing this that I don't accidentally wander out of frame. And it's really been a long time since I've painted miniatures regularly, so I'm sure my technique and skill level has taken a dive over the years, and I just need to, oh, I forgot I can spin that. Actually, rotate it all the way around because its gun hits the support bar. Probably should get like a couple of toothpicks for paint stirs. So when it's a chunk like that, it's easier to get it mixed in properly. Let's see what else is going on. My mother made a very nice scarf for Mrs. Torren. Mrs. Torren sent my mom a package of alpaca yarn for her to crochet something with, since my mom really likes to crochet. And it turns out that my mom is slightly allergic. I don't know if she'd say allergic, but it scratches too much for her to be able to like make something that she can wear. So, but not so much that she can't do it. I'm guessing it's like arms and stuff that have the reaction, not the hands. So she made a nice scarf for Mrs. Torren, and she was able to wear it today. It looked really nice. Sent her a picture of it. All right. It's a little bits of granular chunkiness in the paint, which I think will probably make it be useful for the base. All right, I think that's a decent coat there. Let's get that one off. And can't think of a better name. Says what type of paint it is. This is, I believe, it's an acrylic miniature paint from Citadel. Let's see what they have to say on it. But yeah, most of them that I used to deal with were acrylic. It's easy to build and no glue. Well, I use glue, so. Let's see. Doesn't seem to say, but I'm pretty sure it's an acrylic paint. Yeah, all right. As for the sizes, I think these are 28 millimeter bases. And Gwen says, yeah, I was surprised when my alpaca made me itchy. Alpaca is usually considered hypoallergenic. Yeah, that's why I said I don't really think it's an allergic reaction. I think it's just it's scratchy for her, kind of like people who don't like to wear wool because it's scratchy. But I'm trying to get several of the activities I like to do, be able to like set up streams for it, so I can do it more often, especially like, you know, making the Takadais and stuff like that. I don't think I've decided, or I don't think it necessarily be a good idea to just do like a continual 3D printing stream. Though I know some people do that, but I know YouTube and a few other things have a problem with streams that go 12 hours or longer. I think Ian said he noticed around like 8 hours it started getting a little wonky, and at 12 hours it just dropped down. When I tried to do a 12-hour stream for it was my birthday stream last year, I got all but like the last 10 minutes of it, and then it just wasn't doing it anymore. So I think it was still sending to YouTube. Actually, no, I think the YouTube one was gone too, but StreamYard kind of choked on it. It passed. I think it passed it on, but I don't really remember exactly how it ended. I didn't have anything I really noticed in StreamYard, but StreamYard didn't record more than one up on YouTube, if I remember right. It's been a year, so a little over a year. I didn't do a birthday stream this year. All right, that one actually doesn't look too bad. Don't know how well it shows up on camera, but I'm starting to get relatively uniform coverage. Now I get to go for the, whoops, just tried to paint my SodaStream bottle. Let me get that off before it leaves a semi-permanent mark. Probably won't, it's on plastic. There we go, I was able to drink that fast enough that I didn't cough. All right, so this is a larger base. This is a Ripper Swarm. Because it's much larger relative to the minis, I got better primer coverage on it. So hopefully it holds up a little better. Still looks like it doesn't want to stick too well to the sides. Getting used to the triangle grip on here. These are the first paintbrushes I've been using that have a triangle grip. But I've used pencils and pens that have had triangle grips, so it shouldn't be too much trouble. I think those are the difference in surface texture is little bits of pigment that haven't dissolved in the water. But if I remember right, a lot of people will thin out their Citadel paints with water, so I believe it is water soluble, or at least it can be thinned with water. So now that my printer is working properly, and I found out the reason I was really having problems last time around probably had more to do with the fact I was using crap filament to try and print stuff and then try and do my calibrations with. So question is should I start trying to do the larger nozzles again for faster printing times, or should I go ahead and leave it where it's at until I've got like a decent amount of stock built up? The other thing is that if I wait and I start selling things, then I can set aside all the proceeds until I can get a second printer. And I've been considering getting the Snapmaker U1, which is a multicolor printer. But unlike most of the other systems that use like an AMS or other type of color changer where you've got essentially, excuse me, where you have essentially one nozzle, and what you do is it prints out your part, and then once it's you got part of the one color you're done with, and you need to switch over the other, it backs the filament out of your print head, and then feeds in a new filament, and then you've got to purge it so that you don't have a color bleed over. And you either have to have like a chute that you drop what they call filament poops down the chute, or have what's called a purge tower, where it prints a layer on the tower to get through your color change before you let's rinse that brush out. Don't want to leave anything in the brush to harden up and make it less flexible over time. All right. Let's put the cap on for now. Actually, probably what I'll do is I'll make arrangements with Mrs. Torrin to remember to put the cap on before I leave it off. That way, least it's not leaking anymore when I shake it. Because I have a tendency to forget things like that. All right. Okay. Now this is the Citadel brush. Let's see if I got a better fine liner. You know, this set I got. All right, I think that's a better liner. Put the cover back on. Guess it goes this way because the other side doesn't want to fit. There we go. All right, so this one relative to that one. Yeah, I don't need it a ton thinner. I just wanted it a bit thinner. All right, Thunderhawk, layer Thunderhawk blue. That's my next color. And Gwen says, please hit the like button, folks. And Melee says, thanks for the reminder, Gwen. Appreciate that. All right. Looks like I got about 9 people watching, of which 8 of them are on YouTube. I can't track the Rumble people through StreamYard. Let's see. Okay. That looks like a much better mix. All right, that shouldn't be a problem. All righty. Let's see. I think this was the one I started out with. So the base should be most dry. Give a second to take a grip there. All right. So the claws here. Okay, good. I'm in screen. Claws here are dark blue, kind of grayish color. And I know it said Thunderhawk blue, but for those that are not familiar with Warhammer 40K lore, it reminds me of the Thunder Warriors, which were the genetically engineered warriors that the Emperor of Mankind designed before he started designing the Space Marines. They were kind of unstable, and once he had got most of the unification of man going along, he got rid of them and switched over to the Space Marines. And I think the main reason he got rid of them is because they were unstable, and he wanted the Empire of Man to be a long-term stable society. So he focused on that. But even though they were unstable, apparently they were a lot stronger than the Space Marines that came after them. But as far as unstable, I think it was a combination of both their genetics and their personalities. It was kind of like, I need to make something real quick. Okay, these are the guys I've made. And then, all right, we got the job partway done, and they are not the appropriate tool for the job anymore, I can tell. So let's get rid of them and start over. And the unification of man happened because from the golden age of man, or the dark age of technology, however you want to call it, man spread out through the universe, developed artificial intelligence, and then AI decided to start uprising, called the Men of Iron. And humans had to fight them off. And about this time, the Eldar, or Eldari now, I think is what they're called. I started playing a long time ago. Let's see, there we go. Had gotten depraved enough that they birthed the Chaos Power, Slaanesh. who is the ruinous chaos power of excess, or depravity. But then again, pretty much all the chaos powers are a bit depraved in one form or another. But as I understand it, they've toned them down over the years. When I first started playing some of the miniatures for the daemonettes, which are like the troop level fighters for Slaanesh or Slaanesh, had like one breast on them. But they've toned down the sexual connotations of the excess as time has gone by, and they've gotten a little more mainstream. All right. So I think I got the hooves there. We got both of those claws. Hands don't have it, both the feet, and top of the gun does as well, I believe. Yeah. All right, so. Oops, sorry. I'm off screen. Even though I haven't really played, I've kind of kept up with the lore. I've also been listening to YouTube lore channels, so I picked up a lot of the stuff I missed not being an active follower, because there was a long time where I wasn't really buying the books or hitting the miniature stores and reading White Dwarf magazine. All right, and I think these two pieces get it. I need to get a spotlight so I can see in this spot that's normally in shadow from my vantage point. Even out the paint so I don't have it globby. All right. I think we're good for that. Oops. Let's go ahead and take that off. Set it to dry. And Gwen says you're welcome as far as a reminder. And Gwen says, Torin, do you have a color chart that tells you what color to paint each area of the piece? Yes, I do, which is right here. The base is Armageddon Dust. The claws and top of the gun here are the Thunderhawk Blue. And Wraithbone is looks like it's most of the body that's not covered by scales. The scales is Naggaroth Night. It says the contrast is Magos Purple, which is the color in the crevices and whatnot. And the Corax White is, it looks like it's the teeth. But I might do that as the highlight for, dry brushing it on the stuff that's the Wraithbone color. All right, and let's go ahead and get another one on here. All right. The hooves here. Also, I have no idea if I'm ever actually going to be playing Warhammer with anybody. I don't know who in this area plays. But getting the resin printer set up is kind of what got me going in this again. I did mention once to Nick that I think, kind of the pinnacle for my level of YouTubery might be if I'd ever gotten to join him, Oz, and Sargon of Akkad for a painting stream, which I realize is probably never ever going to happen, but it's fun to think about. But when I realized that I could paint or print up a bunch of miniatures, if not necessarily, the official Games Workshop ones, that I could start painting again. Which reminds me, I need to order in a can of the black spray primer for that alien. And maybe get a couple of STLs for some designs for some fun things that I could print out and paint. The next couple of painting streams are probably going to be members only for a member stream, because I want to, I want to have like as a benefit for people for being members, and this is the what I can come up with on short notice. One of the things I'd like to do is be able to like print stuff out or make things and then give them away to some of the members, but I don't know of an easy way to do that, because like how do I get the get the shipping addresses and the like. And if I ask people to email, how am I sure that the right person is sending me the email and not somebody pretending to be them to get their prize? Not that I'd expect that from the people who are regular chatters here, but there might be other people that watch that are not regular chatters. And there's always people who hate watch you. And not that I think I've necessarily done a bunch of stuff to get some haters, but I'm friends, at least casually friends, with Nick, and he's got a lot of haters, and they have shown no signs of restraining themselves going after people they think will make Nick regret his life choices, which I'm pretty sure he does regret them, and he's working to improve his life. But unless he repents in the way that they consider acceptable, which is essentially, winding up in the gutter, homeless and the like, they're not satisfied. Not that they have any say in it, but no elbows. What have they got here? And do I want to emulate that? Yeah, it should be Megos purple. I missed it on that. All right. I think that, oh, nope, the gun. Forgot that. Keep forgetting the gun. Don't ever forget the gun. Okay. I am not impressed with the build quality on this miniature stand thing, but I think it's still a little bit better than me just holding it myself. I'm going to have to check out some of the miniature collections on places like My Mini Forge, because there are not official Tyranids that I could use that look similar, but not IP related stuff that I could print out and potentially use. Yeah, I definitely need to get another light. I've got a bulb for it. Just how am I going to get a stand for it? But hopefully I've mostly been painting on stream. All right, let's pull that one off and get the next one on. It's got a magnet in its base so that you can better fingers. You can like stand it up on some metal, but I don't have anything that's set up for that at the moment. Yeah, I think I'm applying some of this paint too thick. Some of the details getting lost. I think what I need to do is make sure the brush is wet and only load up with a little bit of pigment. All right, let's try that for this. Water makes it a little blobby. All right, let's do the hoof here. Yeah, I think that's a bit too thin. When it dries out, it should still have color, but it's a little, I think, a little thin on the application. Just trying to remember all of the techniques and whatever that I used to use and see if they still work or not for me. Okay. I don't know if I'm getting another visual for my non-painful migraines. Makes it hard to see things. They last anywhere from a couple of minutes to half an hour. And at least only about maybe 5 to 10% of them actually go on to actual headaches at this point in time for me. All right. Still have another claw to do, but let's go ahead and get the top cover on this Venom caster or Ripper caster, whatever it is. The Tyranid weapons are all pretty much biologically based. So Venom casters, I think they cast some sort of venomous insect that poisons the attacker, or poisons whoever they're attacking, not necessarily that they're attacking Tyranids. The Ripper casters, if I'm remembering the name right, have insects that when they land, they start eating the target. And they're fired at a really fast rate so they can punch through armor. And the insects survive it. I am definitely not as skillful as I used to be, but I'm working on it. Skills like this, as long as you've got the base level eye-hand coordination, are skills that can be worked on and improved with practice. And I seem to be able to hold a relatively steady hand. And even if you can't necessarily hold a relatively steady hand, that means you can be really good at dry brushing. All right. I think that's everything on that one. So it's time for the Ripper Swarm. What is your favorite type of miniature to paint? I like the 40K line stuff. Space Marines are kind of fun. I also really like painting Chaos miniatures, demons and the like. Let's see. Okay, it's their tail tips and their claw tips are the ones that get this color here. So if I remember right, the Ripper Swarm is the kind of grown-up version of the Ripper casters. They've fed on at least one target, and they've absorbed or consumed their biomass, which is the Tyranid's main goal, is to consume all biomass available and repurpose it for themselves. But they've eaten something and they're now grown and larger. That's what these things are. They're called rippers because they rip through your armor and then they rip through you. And I think when I get done with this color on this one, I might go ahead and stop because it'll be pretty close to an hour at this point. But I definitely need a better light for here. One of the things I definitely remember is if you're doing a bunch of small miniatures, doing one color and working your way down your line, so to speak, is the more efficient way to do it. So that's what I'm doing. Claws on these are pretty small. It's hard to get. Hand cramp. Sorry about that. And Gwen says, that sounds gruesome. Yep. Most of 40K is, it's called Grimdark for a good reason. And Melee says, I never tried to paint miniatures. Looks fun. Yeah, it is. It's a relaxing thing for me. It's been a long time since I've done it. I'm hoping by the next stream that I do, I'm able to find some of my older miniatures and bring them out, start putting them in the display cases. So you can see what I used to do. I know I did have a fair number of Chaos miniatures. And I figured Chaos is fun to play, even though they are some of the bad guys. So are the Tyranids. Basically, everybody in Warhammer 40K is the bad guy, even the good guys. Because they literally cannot... no. It's a brutal, oppressive regime, totalitarianly controlled, harsh military governors and the like. But the thing is, if they didn't have them, they'd lose, because if too many of the psychers or whatever. This is falling off. Let me just hold this. Develop their powers without special control, or aren't siphoned off to feed the emperor, who needs their power to keep the Astronomicon, which is how the humans navigate through warp space. From accidentally winding up becoming a portal for a demon, humanity would fall fairly quickly to chaos incursions. As a matter of fact, they don't even tell most of their populace that chaos is a real thing, because telling them that it exists gives some of the people who would go for it an opportunity to call on those powers that they would have never done so if they hadn't known they existed. So they're in a continual fight to keep from being overwhelmed by their own populace turning into chaos demons overnight. Then there's other alien races that are out to get them as well. So they are keeping humanity alive pretty much by being a totalitarian government. But the non-totalitarian governments fall very, very quickly to chaos. And there are other threats out there. Let's see, yeah. Alrighty, I'm starting to lose focus here. And Gwen says, the closest I've come to painting miniatures is painting ceramics. It's fairly similar, smaller detail for most cases, but there are also techniques in addition to what I'm doing, which is just doing the base coats, which you do washes, where you really thin out the paint, or you have essentially thin inks, and you brush them onto the miniatures, and they kind of concentrate in the lower crevices. As it dries, you get darker shades there. And then when that's done, then you take a lighter shade of your base color, and you dip your brush in it, and then you kind of like mostly brush it off on something until you're only leaving light traces. And then you just kind of like brush it over the top, and it leaves lighter markings, kind of like frosting or whatnot. It gives a nice effect to that. All right, let me see if anybody's available for redirect, since we're about 5 minutes away from an hour in. Let's see, content, go to the live, and edit live, customization, and add a redirect. Let's see who's available. I don't see anybody, so I guess I won't set one up. Sorry about that. Let's see, what else was there? Was there anything else? Oh, let's go ahead and for the last little bit, we'll show you the storage box. And yeah, it looks like it was roughly 4 hours in. This is supposed to finish up around 5 a.m., which should give me just enough time to get the next print started before I go to work, so I can get maximum use out of this printer. And whoops, Mary says, I don't paint much because I'm scared I'm going to waste a lot. Well, I mean, maybe I can get you some cheap printed minis and a couple of paints, and then you can try it. And if it doesn't work, you can just toss them and not out a ton of money. And Melee says, thanks for the stream. No problem. I also saw that you got to see the thing I was talking about on the last stream with the cat trying to show its poor human how to retract its claws because it couldn't figure out how to do it. And Gwen says, this was fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm going to try and do maybe like one mini painting stream a week for a while, in addition to the braiding stream. I also got the tape measure up here so that I can, and Melee says, yes, I did. Or I did, yes. Sorry, not yes, I did. See how much length I have left. I don't think I can get another full one. And I need to talk to Andrea and see what she wants done with that. Let her know what the finished length is likely to be. All righty, everybody. Appreciate you dropping in. And my guess is probably going to be likely Tuesday is the next stream. So as always, everybody, stay safe and happy braiding.